Every Wednesday for February, March, and April, all Rubus service stations are rolling back the price on full-service price fuel 20 cents. Every customer will save 20 cents on every gallon of fuel purchased on Wednesdays. Roll back. Roll back.
All Flow retail stores are now closed. To reach our customer care team and retail teams, customers may email k-flowhelp@cwc.com or contact our virtual store on WhatsApp at 925-3569. Remember, you can make payments to your bill and top up your prepaid accounts via the website. Visit discoverflow.ky or make payments to your bill and top up prepaid accounts via the mobile app.
Live from Star 927 Studios in the center of Cayman's capital city, Georgetown. This is Straight Talk with Ruthanna.
Good evening, everybody. You are tuned into Straight Talk, brought to you exclusively by Star 92.7 Premium Radio. I am your host, Ruthanna Young. Always honored to be your host here on Straight Talk every Monday through Thursday from 5 to 6 p.m. right here and nowhere else other than Star 92.7. It is 5:01 on the Star 92.7 clock, and it is the 31st of March. We are officially at the last day of this month and rolling on to April Fool's Day tomorrow, April 1st, for already. Like, we're a quarter of the way through the year, if you can believe it or not. I think we've had so many distractions, so many things that have hit us sideways that this year, the beginning of 2020, has just rolled on by, but we'll make it through. We'll be with you until 6 o'clock this evening. Of course, today is Tuesday, and we are back to some of our regularly scheduled programming via video conference. I will have Mahir Lamba from the Family Resource Center talking about their new confidential teleservices, online services that they will be offering both at the Family Resource Center and the Counseling Center. So she will join me in short course to talk about all of those things, because while COVID-19 runs its course and we're doing everything is being done to protect our community, there are these needs that still arise, and some more than ever. And so I'm happy to have them on this afternoon to talk about what they are doing in the face of COVID-19 to still support the community. But you guys know the deal. Before we go any further into our conversation, we always start our time together here on Straight Talk with the reading of today's Daily Bread. Just a moment focused on God. And so today's Daily Bread is entitled Inheritance Isn't Earned, and comes from Ephesians 1 verse 5 and reads, He predestined us for adoption to sonship through Jesus Christ in accordance with his pleasure and will. Thanks for dinner, Dad, I said as I set my napkin on the restaurant table. I was home on a break from college, and after being gone for a while, it felt strange to have my parents pay for me. You're welcome, Julie, my dad replied, but you don't have to thank me for everything all the time. I know you've been off on your own, but you're still my daughter and a part of the family. I smiled. Thank you, Dad. In my family, I haven't done anything to earn my parents' love or what they do for me. But my dad's comment reminds me that I haven't done anything to deserve to be a part of God's family either. In the book of Ephesians, Paul tells his readers that God chose them to be holy and blameless in his sight, or to stand without blemish before him. But this is only possible through Jesus, in whom we have redemption through his blood, the forgiveness of sins, in accordance with the riches of God's grace. We don't have to earn God's grace, forgiveness, or entrance into his family. We simply accept his free gift. When we turn our lives over to Jesus, we become children of God, which means we receive eternal life and have an inheritance waiting for us in heaven. Praise God for offering such a wonderful gift. Thanks be to God for that word today. As always, here on Straight Talk, we encourage you to spend time each and every day focused on his word, meditating on his grace and how awesome he is. And so, of course, the lines, our numbers are all the same. 943-3700 is the line in studio. You can also WhatsApp me, 324-1565. If talking ain't your thing, you can also email me, straighttalkci@gmail.com. We're also streaming live from the Star 92.7 Facebook page and the YouTube channel, so you can feel free to drop comments there as well. And I will be certain to read comments out. Shout out to Mr. Johnny Doak. You're hilarious. And I am going to advocate on behalf of your wife, Mr. Doak, who says you're being a little bit difficult about how many times she's sweeping and mopping the floor. I support Sarah, okay? And so she is not sweeping and mopping every day is normal. And for those who don't know what I'm talking about, find Johnny Doak on Facebook or Sarah on Facebook, and you'll get to follow that conversation. He's tuned in via Facebook. My mother, good afternoon. She says, I'm watching you, and thank you, mother. As your firstborn child, I accept the fact that you think I'm amazing. Thank you. And for those of you, I see Alric Lindsay tuned in. I know I saw Chicken Go tuned in earlier. And thank you to, I see Ava Jean tuning in from Canada. Thank you guys for tuning in via the Facebook post. Lots of love. Be sure to invite your friends on in. And I see Mahir Lamba from the Family Resource Center is with me. She'll be right out with me till 6 o'clock this evening. We're talking about the things that the services that they're unrolling to continue to serve the community during this time, albeit through different means, right? Because social distancing and all of the things that are very important. But how are you doing?
I'm doing well. We're staying inside as much as possible, changing the way we work a little bit, but making it work and trying to make sure that our families are supported during this time, because it really is a time that I feel like a lot of people are a little bit in crisis, a little bit unsure. And we want to make sure that people are getting the support now more than ever.
Awesome. And so for those who may not be familiar with you, I would like you to please explain to everyone, let's start with, sharing with them what is your position with the Family Resource Center.
Yeah, absolutely. So I am a program facilitator with the Family Resource Center, and that just means that I'm one of several staff who delivers all of our programming. So we do family programs, we deliver SNAP, which is Stop Now and Plan, for children who are experiencing behavioral difficulties. We do young parent services for young parents between the ages of 13 and 25. So we've got a broad range of family programs. We also do community awareness programs. We are on our last day of Honoring Women Month, and I know we cut a lot of our programming and campaigning for that month short this month due to other priorities, but it is still something I do want to take a moment to mention. It is the last day of Honoring Women Month, which is the biggest campaign of our year, and we will pick that up later in the year when we can. And we also do domestic violence intervention training, and we really want to bring that up at this point as well for anyone who is feeling unsafe in their home, that there are options in the community still available.
Awesome. I'm very, very happy to have this conversation, because I shared on my Facebook page, for example, a couple of days ago, I want to say it was BBC who did an article that highlighted the fact that some countries are seeing a rise in domestic violence incidents through this time because of the isolation that it brings. And so all of those services become increasingly important, in my opinion, through this time. I'd like to give a special shout out. We have Chris tuning in from ATL. Miss Susan tuning in on Facebook as well. Anthony Ricardo sending love. Thank you so much. Thank you all for tuning in via Facebook this afternoon. For those who don't know where to find our Facebook feed, you can go on the Star 977 Facebook page and follow the Facebook feed there and watch us live and in action. And so I want to actually, a little off topic, but you touched on it, Honoring Women's Month. As you said, it's usually your biggest celebration of the year, but paradise interrupted as it would be. And what events did you get to have this month before everything has kind of come to a grinding halt in terms of celebrations for Honoring Women's Month?
Absolutely. So we were actually really grateful. We were able to start our month off. The first day of the month was a Sunday. So we actually started our month off with a church service at the Agape Family Center, which was absolutely wonderful. And we're so grateful for that, to them and Pastor Andrew for hosting us on March 1st. We were able to do a Dress for a Cause day on March 6th at the government building. And we had a huge, wonderful turnout there. Lots of great community support, people showing up in their purple, showing up to support Honoring Women Month and all the wonderful women we have here in our community. And then we also were able to host our brunch, which was our biggest event of the month. And went off wonderfully. We hosted it at the Kimpton Seafire. I want to thank everyone who was a part of it, everyone who was able to attend, but also all of our sponsors, everyone that was able to, give us auction items for donation. We had a live artist there painting on site. We had gift certificates for half-day boat charters, and everyone came, everyone showed up, everyone had a great time and really participated in the keynote address we had from LaShonda Coleman, which was actually very interactive and talking about how who are the people in your life that encouraged you to get to where you are, who are the people in your life that encouraged you to learn and continue to pursue just learning as you go older in the community, informal learning and different stances. And everyone was really great at interacting publicly in that.
Awesome. I had heard about your brunch and so, and I saw Facebook posts and the like. So I it sounds like it was an amazing event. And once we get back to some semblance of life as per usual, whatever that looks like after this. I'm glad to hear that you guys will kind of be resuming some of those celebrations to kind of close out what should have been the closing out of Honoring Women's Month. And so, we've moved into this period where lockdowns and curfews are becoming a normal way of being at this time due to the COVID-19 pandemic, and the world over transitions have had to take place, whether it be working from home, even you see, media houses, ours is one of them. We implementing new platforms and the like to continue to keep the public informed and service our clients, and the FRC and the Counseling Center is no different. Right? You offer a full suite of services on a regular basis. And like most of us, you've just had to figure out, how do we continue to provide those very important services to the community at this time, right? So as I want to kind of backtrack. And so as things have shut down and, the curfews have come in place, what has this transition been like for you guys at FRC and Counseling Center?
So as long as we could, we continued to deliver services out of our office, but we really respect the government for taking measures early on to hopefully protect all of Cayman, all of the people here. And so it's challenged us, but I think it's also been really great for us because we've been able to continue to deliver many of our services without putting any of our clients at risk, without needing them to leave their homes, without having any of our staff have to leave their homes during this time. So the biggest thing that we do is parenting related. And I think that is a concern for a lot of families right now. You've got kids home full time, schools aren't open, and it's challenging. It's challenging if you're working, it's challenging if you're not working right now, getting that routine set up. So all of our programming is being delivered, but in different ways, because we're trying to meet our families where they're at. So, for example, with our individual sessions, we're really focusing on the things that they need right now. Do you need support right now with setting up a routine for your family day by day? Do you need support right now with monitoring screen time? Do you need support right now with effective directions on how to ask your children to be supportive within the household as well? But on the other side of that, we had a group program that had started, and we were more than halfway through our 10-week group program. So we've actually continued delivering that group program differently, and we're doing it through webinars that families and parents can watch when they have the time to do that. Maybe it's after their kids have gone to bed. Maybe it's while they're doing their own schoolwork. But we're continuing to deliver those programs because we really see the need for it in our community right now. Yeah. And we see that parents want to continue to access our services in this time of crisis because it is very relevant to what they're going through. It was relevant before, and it continues to be relevant now. So as much as possible, I mean, we're delivering all of our programs, our family skills program, our young parent services. We're doing twice a week through Zoom with our young parents, continuing to teach them their skills, which has been really great. And it's also building skill sets of our families to start learning how to use technology in different ways as well. And it's things that they can continue to put on their resume or build skills in as well. So I think it while it came about in not a great way, I think we can take benefits from what's happening right now for sure.
Absolutely. And I'm glad you mentioned the parenting aspect of it, because it's definitely something that I want to spend, a little bit more time talking to you about this afternoon, because, I've been, working on lining up different guests that will help provide valuable information, throughout this time because of all the adjustments that have to be made. And I was speaking to one of my guests that will be joining me next week, who is a holistic nutritionist out of the US, and they do other life coaching things as well. And, she said, what are some of the things that people are struggling with outside of their health? And I said, to be honest, I think the parents are struggling with some mental health challenges, because you see where parents on a whole are striving to try to find this balance between monitoring kids that are now trying to accomplish schoolwork at home, and many parents still working at home and trying to figure that out. I saw a very funny meme today that came to, and there's so many of them, or a gift, depending on what you call it. I'm not too savvy on those terminologies, but it was basically a mother sitting in front of a daughter that was talking, and asking questions. And so the mom was sitting with a cereal bowl, and she was pouring wine into her cereal bowl. As her daughter spoke, right? I also was equally tagged in a photo yesterday on Facebook, where a mother was teaching her daughter fractions using her glass of wine, right? So and so I think parents, and while there people are learning to add humor to a lot of what's going on, I think the parenting aspect of it is a challenging one, because of the dynamics that many of us are used to, especially for those with school age children. The children are off at school during the day, or mom and dad is off at work, whatever the dynamics are in the household. And now all of this has converged into the home, which may not otherwise be outfitted for everybody to have their own workspace. I was talking to a mom who said she was hanging out in, I think it was her daughter's bathroom, trying to get privacy for client calls, because dad was home trying to do work. Child was, downstairs doing like a Zoom conference with a teacher. And so all of those things people are juggling. And so I do want to spend some time talking about that this afternoon. But if we could start to run down for the listening public. And I see Miss Anne saying the struggle is real on Facebook. And she says, Mahir, we love you. So she sent love. Siobhan Hyde tuning in on Facebook saying, tuned in from Barcas, or for the West Bay as Barcas. So we got tuned in from West Bay. I know Miss Jennifer Crean also tuned in, sending love as well. And thank you for Mr. Quincy Brown out of Cayman Brack. Well, he's here, but I always think of him as being tuned in Cayman Brack because of Brack Creek Gardens. And I want to share what separate to what you're talking about, but he posted here in the Facebook feed, the fishermen of Cayman Brack are requesting permission to be able to fish as to be able to supply the Brack with fresh seafood. Mr. Elvis McKeever is appealing to the Premier and the Cayman Islands Angling Club. And so that is a discussion I've heard separate to what we're talking about, but I'm reading some of the commentary that's coming from Facebook as well. So if we could just go ahead and talk about what are the services that the public can, I guess at this point, access through the different mediums, because you guys are doing both phone and video calls, correct?
Absolutely. So anyone, based on what technology is available to you or whatever the best medium is to deliver what we're trying to deliver, we are available by phone, and that number is 949-0006. That's 949-0006. And we can also call you if that's better. If you're out of credit or anything like that, we're happy to do that. You can contact us by email at frc@gov.ky. But all of our meetings are happening right now either by phone, where we're contacting our clients or anyone who contacts us, or they're happening by Zoom, where we can send a link to a meeting invite and we can have a face-to-face discussion kind of like this. We can also share screens, share resources. We're emailing documents. We're asking a lot of our clients to do some work, send it back to us. We're still supporting people with their resumes and things like that. So we're kind of working on all of the programs that we would have been doing prior to this, we're continuing to deliver individual parenting. We're taking in new clients, and we're doing all of our intakes by phone right now. Continuing to do case management, helping you access NAU or any other services that you might be looking for to better support your families. We're continuing to do crisis intervention if you're experiencing domestic violence or anything else, and victim advocacy work as we were doing before. And we have really expanded right now our social media platform and our website. So that's really the newest thing that's come out of this, is we have a weekly social media campaign. We started off with setting routines during this time. Last week, we talked about positive discipline. This week, we're talking about digital parenting and how to monitor some of that screen time, or what you can be doing with that screen time, because we know it's not always easy to actually monitor it or reduce it, especially right now. But there are things that your kids could be doing on their screens that might still be educational for them.
Okay.
But I also want to mention that we are part of the Department of Counseling Services, and the Counseling Center is also continuing to offer counseling services either by phone, by phone or through Zoom. And they are also taking in new clients, and the Department of Counseling Services is part of the new mental health helpline. So if anyone during this time just wants to talk to somebody, they're experiencing some concerns regarding their mental health because of all of the things that are happening right now, it's very understandable, and there are resources available to help you. So we do want to mention the new mental health helpline, and that number is 1-800-534-6463.
Okay, just repeat that one more time for me.
1-800-534-6463.
Okay. Thank you for sharing that. And I see Miss Charmaine. I think she's been tuned in for a little while. Shout out to Miss Charmaine. Thank you for tuning in. I see Miss Alexandra. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. And so we have a lot of moms tuned in here. And of course, Dad, Mr. Johnny Doak, is still hanging out with us this afternoon. And of course, it's a great opportunity. If there's for any of the parents who are tuned in, I would be very keen on knowing what are some of the challenges that you are currently having, especially as parents. But even if you're not a parent and that's not where the area of challenges, if there is any challenges that you're facing that you're willing to share, whether you send me an email or through the Facebook feed, for those of you who are tuned in via Facebook, so that I know what I've seen on Facebook, right? And I've heard, and I know I've spoken to parents who are just like, listen, I'm about to give up, on the teaching of my kids because I'm trying to juggle my work and those sorts of things. But for those who are willing to share, I would love if you could share some of the questions you may have, or the tools that you may feel like you haven't quite figured out as yet. I certainly have also seen, likewise, I've seen the parents who, a week in, they're like, okay, we're now 2 weeks in, all is in order. We figured out this routine. Some of them have cut routines, like our routine is 3 hours, for example. Someone says, okay, this all day thing's not working out. So our routine has become 3 hours, and that's what's working for some families. So some people are finding their way, whereas others are still having challenges in one way, shape, or form with balancing all of what's going on, along with just the added stressors that now come at a time like this. Of course, there are many persons in the community, and because you mentioned counseling, the counseling center still offering their services, the financial stressors that are surfacing, whether it's because people have lost jobs entirely and are not sure when life will resume, for example, in our tourism sector, or those who are concerned about a month from now, 2 weeks from now, when funds run out or not, just the different, everyone's situation is different. But there are a lot of stressors that are surfacing during a time like this. And I think everyone is doing their best to comply. And many are in, I've spoken to persons who said, I really just want everybody to behave themselves so that I can get back to work to feed my family, right? Because as long as we have, community transmission actively taking place in the society, it means that some businesses have to stay closed longer, and that's posing challenges. So there's some people who are just like, I wish everyone in the community would just sit still, listen to what the government is telling us to do, so that we can get back to work. Of course, we did hear the government announce this afternoon of 2 new cases believed to be our first 2 cases of community transmission. They have no travel history or no known, immediate contact with travelers. So we did hear that announcement this afternoon. But the stressors, I think the services from a counseling and mental health perspective are incredibly important during this time. And so I also want to spend some time talking about that as well. And so Ms. Jennifer Crean puts on Facebook, we have a rule: finish our homeschooling in 2 to 3 hours max. If we don't get it done, oh well. Time for play and fun as kids learn through play as well. I think relaxing your expectations is so important. Right. So what do you say to that? So that's the strategy she's employed, in her household with 2 kids. And so what do you say to that?
Absolutely. And I think that's wonderful. You're putting in any time, but kids learn through play. Kids also learn a lot of things that are not taught in schools. This is
Mhm.
a great time to teach your kids, if they're old enough, teach them some of the recipes that you love, teach them life skills, cooking, how to support you in the household. But also, there's lots of different ways that kids can access information and take in information. And this is a really good time to take some of those aspects in. But honestly, there's nothing wrong with playtime. There's nothing wrong with doing a couple hours of school right now and taking in the time to spend with your family and doing it in a more fun way, because this really is something that is so rare for us to get this much time with the people we love, with our families, and we can use it and not have to schedule each and every aspect, each and every minute of that time to get everything done in the day.
hmm And Miss Jennifer says, yes, I completely agree. We are baking, bonding with the family more, and learning fun games. Miss Angela Scott, who is a teacher here, says, I totally agree. And this is on Facebook. I totally agree. As a teacher, I find that learning goes beyond the classroom. And Angela, thank you for tuning in on that, because I saw you logged into the feed, and I actually wanted some of your feedback on that as a teacher. Because I know that, and I know she's speaking for herself and not on behalf of any particular school or otherwise, but I was very interested to hear a teacher's perspective as to their thoughts, because I have heard a lot of parents shortening, the school day, or those sorts of things. And so I'm glad that we have a teacher tuned in, and maybe able to share some of her perspectives in basic. And I'm sure teachers, to my understanding, have made themselves as available as possible to their students. And I would be interested in like, is there any of the challenges that you see parents encountering at home, or even students, because I want to touch on something else with you, Mahir. So I've also spoken to a few mothers who have, kids who, I guess you could describe as high achievers, or don't like to not complete a task, and we're talking primary school age kids, right? And children who are spazzing out at home because maybe they couldn't finish work as early as they would have wanted to, or they felt like, oh, I'm not getting my work done. And so parents who are dealing with overwhelmed children, right, that are doing that are really obsessing over the want to complete their work and otherwise, and parents trying to help the children manage their stresses through this time. What would be some of your advice to them, and would this be something they call the Family Resource Center for, or the Counseling Center for?
Yeah, that's a great question. And they can absolutely call the Family Resource Center for something like that. We can work through some strategies on how to support your kids through different challenges. And right now, it's different children are coping in different ways, for sure, because you see kids who are taking this as, school's out, I get to play, I get to enjoy myself. But there's a lot of kids who are finding that it's taking them out of their structure and routine. And they're maybe not comfortable with that. They're maybe not used to that, and they want to go back to that structure and routine. And I think for kids like that, if you're experiencing something like that, putting structure in place can be really important to them. Still giving them goals and things that they can work towards can be really important to them, to show them that they are still achieving things during this time that can continue to benefit them, even though it's not in the school time. But at the same time, it's about teaching your children coping mechanisms. So can you teach your children to, when they feel really anxious in that moment, when they're feeling really stressed out, take deep breaths. There's something really powerful about taking a few deep breaths, calming down, and trying to frame something differently, possibly in that scenario. Because different strategies like that can be used for kids, not just when they're acting out or having behavioral issues, but also just when they're feeling uncomfortable in their own environment in that moment.
Yes. And so we are coming up to our first break. I have a post that actually I have two posts coming in from parents that I want to share after the break and get some of your feedback and maybe, find out what services they may be able to access through you guys to help them, with more in-depth kind of strategies, for those challenges. And so I'll share those as soon as we come back from the break. But guys, it is 5:30 on the Star 92.7 clock. We'll be with you until 6 o'clock, but we are going out for about a minute and a half break, so just hang tight. We'll be right back and keep it locked all the way up till 6 o'clock this evening for some more Straight Talk on Star 92.7.
Georgetown, Walkers Road, or Red Bay for breakfast, lunch, or dinner.
Welcome back to Straight Talk with Ruthanna on Star 927.
We are back, folks, and you are tuned into Straight Talk, brought to you exclusively by Star 92.7 Premium Radio. I am your host, Ruthanna Young, joined by Mahir Lamba of the Family Resource Center. She'll be with me until 6 o'clock this evening. We are talking about the services that the Family Resource Center and the Counseling Center are now offering either by phone or video conference to continue to support the listening public. And 943-3700 is the line in studio. You can also send WhatsApps to 324-1565. You can also email me, straighttalkci@gmail.com. If you want to tune in via the Facebook feed, our live Facebook feed, we are streaming live from the Star 92.7 Facebook page or the Star 92.7 YouTube channel. We are and largely what we're starting to talk about is the parenting aspect. I have a bunch of commentary that has come in. So I'll go on through and start sharing that. So Karina says, it has been overwhelming just trying to get adjusted to the new norm. The first week was a nightmare. Week 2 was better. But as you said, it's just balancing the day and seeing what works best for you and your family. I felt a bit anxious trying to keep up with the COVID-19 school schedules issued by the internet. And when we didn't follow, I felt like such a terrible parent. But it's a learning process. It's a big change for us all. And it's a huge lifestyle adjustment, balancing it all. So that from a mom. And from Mr. Johnny Doak. So this is more of a question. And I don't know if you're going to be able to, if you can share it either by email or through the Facebook feeds, because he's asking for resources, right? So he says, my kids have done all the schoolwork assigned. They are animals, and are there any good links or platforms where we can find extra work for them to do that are recommended? And so do you know of any resources like that offhand, or is that something for you to share with him?
Absolutely. So during our campaign this week, on Thursday, there will actually be a post as part of our digital parenting campaign on things that they can be doing online that are educational resources as well. But I know Scholastic has some great ones. Audible is doing free books for children right now. There's a lot of resources online of people who are just offering, for example, there's some museums that are offering virtual tours of the inside of their museum or some of their exhibits as well. There's a lot of places that are being really creative in delivering educational material that kids can access. So I can definitely share more of those with you, Ruthanna, as well, to share with your audience, because there's just a lot in the community right now. And the Family Resource Center, if you follow our page on Facebook, will continue to share those resources as well.
That would be awesome. And then I also have from our teacher who is tuned in, Miss Angela Scott. She says we also need to make the time for our mental health. One of the biggest concerns that I personally have as both a parent and a teacher is the mental health of our children. We need to understand that this is a scary and difficult time for us all. My mantra in my classroom is to be mindful, purposeful, and driven. I try to have all of the children I deal with do that. Right. How important from the Family Resource Center perspective, to the point that she's made, the mental health of us all, right? I think it's quite easy for many of us to forget how challenging this may be for the children, right? What bit of advice could you offer to, as Angela did, to parents who, may need the support in that area for the kids?
Absolutely. And we want the public to know that if you're feeling down right now, if you're feeling anxious, there's a lot going on, and it's a normal feeling right now, but there are resources out there. We want you to be proactive. We want you to access the resources available. And this really comes into play also when you're parenting, because you don't want, if you're feeling, sometimes when you're feeling anxious, sometimes when you're feeling scared or uncomfortable, that can come out as anger as well. We know that it comes out in different ways, and we really want people, when they're parenting particularly, to be parenting in a positive way. We want them to be parenting with a positive mindset, and it will help you, if you can, with your parenting, to have access services to have coping strategies for yourself that hopefully you can also share with your children. So I really want to push also, we've got our mental health helpline for anyone who's experiencing any mental health concerns at this time. The number is 1-800-534-6463.
All right. And if you could give it one more time,
800-534-6463. And the counseling center, all of our services are absolutely free of charge. I didn't mention that before, but I do want to mention that this is not something that's going to add financial burdens in any way. And the counseling center is open, and we are accepting new clients during this time as well. And we are doing all of the counseling services and Family Resource Center services through the phone or by Zoom.
Awesome. And Karina says, I think mental health is very important during these times. I'm very happy to know that there are resources available. And she said, I just commented on mental health, responding to Miss Angela. It's a lot for parents and for the kids to digest all at one time. I totally agree. Miss Jennifer Crane coming in saying, I have a high achieving 7-year-old. Once I explained that learning happens even after the schoolwork is done, it seemed to help her. And I find when kids see parents having fun with this quarantine, they relax and have fun too. And how important do you think fun is during this time?
I think fun is so important, and it's a really great time for us to bond. I think it's an opportunity that we don't get normally, to spend this much time with your family, and it can be so much fun. We've, here at my house, we've spent time playing games and doing different things. I know a lot of our families, we shared some fun games that you can play with your family on our Facebook page last week. There's lots of card games, things that aren't technology based also, that families can do together, that can be really great bonding time, that, that are some of the best memories that I have from my childhood as well, are, playing games with my family. And I think that can be a really great bonding time. And you can learn a lot about your children when you're having fun together. And I think that can be really important. But I also want to share for people, like, social media has been a really great resource during this time as well. I know sometimes it can be a really negative thing, but it's a really great platform for families to learn from each other as well during this time. And that's definitely something that's great to have support from your audience altogether.
Absolutely. And I know that, I've seen there are groups on Facebook locally, and I just shared the Family Resource Center Facebook page directly into the Facebook feed for those who may be wondering how to find them. But you can also equally find them by searching on Facebook Family Resource Center and spelled with TRE at the end. And it's easy to find their page and lots of things being put there. But I've seen, lots of groups popping up on Facebook for different specific purposes, whether it is helping the community or people who may need resources for themselves, and lots of sharing I think has been going on Facebook and through these different platforms. And Johnny Doak says, respect ladies, much appreciated. And Angela Scott continues to say, take the time to enjoy our kids' academics are important, but it must go beyond that. My own child has been having issues with just doing the schoolwork. Ruthanna, you know already how he is, and school is not normally an issue for him, but he is struggling days where he just doesn't want to do it. He wants to be with his friends, and at one point this week even made me a card which said, "Mommy, I love you, but I want to see other people." There was a time where we were constantly fighting, and finally I just decided we were done. My little man became the boss for a day within reason, and it really did a reset for us, and it has helped us greatly. So that from a teacher who said, even for her, mastering life at home with her son had its challenges, and she said, you know what? You'll be the boss, right?
I think there's also a really important point there about giving your children some autonomy during this time, because a lot of power and control that any of us have has been taken away during this time. And kids feel that as well. They don't have a lot of power and control to begin with a lot of the time. But sometimes giving them some choices within your own control, within the scope that you are allowing them to have choices, whether it's something about what they want to have for dinner or whether they want to do their schoolwork now or later, gives them a little bit of choice where they still feel like they can be in control of what's happening in their lives. And it really does help bring some structure to what's going on in their day as well. And that can be really important.
Absolutely. And that's a great suggestion right here. Thank you. Ms. Jennifer Crean replying to Angela says mental health should be our top priority during this time. And Angela agreeing. I see Miss Ann saying, Angela, Google the circle of control activity 2. It helps to examine all the things that are outside our control, i.e. all the COVID-19 chaos, and then examine what is within our control. It helps to process difficult feelings and to redirect energies to what we can control and feel empowered during this challenging time. It is a great resource for adults, parents, and teachers alike. And so she says it is called the Circle of Control activity, that from Miss Anne. So that is something that, for those who may be looking for resources. And then Miss Jennifer says we keep the news off when the kids are around. And Johnny Doak saying without social media in these times, it would be so upside down, literally a saving grace. I agree with you, Johnny. Are you familiar with the Center of Control activity that Miss Anne is referring to, or that's something new for you?
I'm actually not familiar with that one, but I mean, there's a lot of resources that our team brings together, and it really helps us being a team. We're doing that even during these times when we're not physically together, but we are sharing resources virtually, and I think it's really great. It's a great example of how our team has lots to offer to the families in the community, for sure.
Absolutely. And I spoke to another mom that I know, and you touched on this earlier, and a lot of things keep coming back to like the mental health and parenting aspect. I want to remind anyone who is listening, the services from Family Resource Center and the Counseling Center go well beyond some of the topics of conversation that are prevalent, on radio with us today. And so to make sure that if you need, any assistance, and I got a question about co-parenting that I want to ask you as well. But a mom said, and this is, into this third week, I was speaking to her the other day, and she's like, today I'm just angry. And she felt like she was shouting at everybody. And, she just kind of let it all go to the wind because she realized that, she was feeling very overwhelmed and angry and decided, let me take a step back. Right. And, she was managing that. And so sometimes parents need the support on their own. They need the support on their own. Sometimes it's a matter of coming together and helping them, do whatever needs to be done together. If there is a parent that is having that day, right, and they need some kind of just immediate support for someone to talk to, is that available? Can they call the counseling center at this point, or family resource center? And it may not be something ongoing, but are feeling very overwhelmed in that moment. What is the best resource for them to access at that time?
The best resource right now is the mental health helpline. The 1-800 number that we've been giving out today is a great resource for something like that. We are happy to provide coping strategies in the moment, how to help you and what you're dealing with right then and there, even if it's just a one-off call. But you can call that helpline more than once if you need to, and we encourage you to call whenever you need to, whether it's the helpline or to call the Family Resource Center or the Counseling Center for services. We are happy to provide that.
Okay, so the mental health hotline would be the best option for someone seeking immediate help. Ms. Angela says, pretty much be open and willing to hear and listen to your kids, and within reason, let them guide you. They know what they need, and giving them the break and being willing to listen will help us all. And a parent sent in a message, and I know this person, and so I know the exact situation. What they're struggling with is, children who are mature enough to effectively, express themselves, but not old enough to be left alone to entirely do their work. And their children are feeling very frustrated in not being able to see their friends, and be like in that social connection with their friends. What are some of the things that can help parents help their kids during this period of isolation and doing the, stomp the feet on the ground, I want to see my friends dance, if you call it that?
Absolutely. I think first of all, it's really important to validate the feelings that your child has in that moment, because those are real feelings. Those are valid feelings. A lot of us are feeling really lonely. It's been hard not to go out socially. It's hard not to see family that doesn't live in your household, friends that don't live in your household. So it's okay to validate that feeling. But there are other ways that you can problem solve with your child. There's a lot of resources that are coming out right now. There's ways that your child can play safe games online. There's apps on the phone. There's one called House Party where you can all FaceTime together and you can play a couple of card games or something like that. There's a lot of resources coming out like that right now. And so I think it's really great if you can, work with other families who are probably also feeling the same way. Does your child have friends who maybe you can all organize a Zoom chat for all of them to still feel like they're hanging out together? And there are ways that you can problem solve that with your child, that if you show also that you are caring and trying to help that situation, even that in itself will probably help that situation a little bit. And just giving them some FaceTime with their friends in the way that we are trying to do with our friends and family everywhere as well, I think is really important to continue that social connection.
Okay, and if you could, when you get a chance, if you could also, any of the resources that you know of, like House Party and the like, if you could send me even an email or some WhatsApp, something with those links or those names, so that I can share them through my social media pages, because I think a lot of parents are looking for whatever resource they can access at this time. Michelle Lockwood says, "Love my hair!" Exclamation point. So she is sending her love to you. Thank you, Michelle, for locking it in as well. And Miss Angela says on Facebook, yoga, Cosmic Kids on YouTube, and Noodle are also fun websites for your kids and parents alike. And so I'm not familiar with Cosmic Kids. or go noodle, but I might have to check it out. Thankfully, I am still dealing with a 14-month-old who is oblivious to the fact that the world has turned upside down. So the reality is that it makes, my situation just a little bit easier from a parenting perspective. Because for her, we get up every day and feed the chickens as we normally would, and all those sorts of things. So her world hasn't been disrupted too much. But I certainly, with having a sister with 3 school-age children and seeing all the feedback and the things that mothers and fathers are going through, trying to balance, all of these things. And so as our time quickly winds down with us, I want to make sure that we don't miss any of the things that are available to the public through the Family Resource Center still, and the Cayman Counseling Center that can still be accessed. So if you could remind them, if they need to reach you for any reason, for any of your resources, what is the number that they would otherwise first call to get connected?
So for the Family Resource Center, that number is 949-0006. For the Counseling Center, that number is 949-8789. For the Mental Health Helpline, the number is 1-800-534-6463. But we can also be reached by email at frc@gov.ky.
Okay. And Ms. Charmaine comes in and says, I think that's a fair concern for a child. At times we become overwhelmed with our partners or friends and need some space. This is the same for children. Therefore, we need to reach out to other parents and coordinate social groups. Thanks, Mahir, for all the tips. I see Ms. Ann Stevenson tuning in. Thank you so much. But thank you, Ms. Charmaine, for that feedback as well, because let me tell you, parents are grasping for every resource that is available to them at this time. And so thank you for sharing the phone numbers as well. I think it's important to let people know that you still are doing intakes for new clients, right?
Absolutely.
So they don't have to be an existing client of FRC. And you have both phone and Zoom available for all of these resources. And that includes crisis intervention. So if there are persons who are experiencing domestic violence situations at home or any type of violence situations at home, who would you recommend they call first?
If you are experiencing domestic violence in the household, if you are in an emergency situation, always call 911. Outside of that, the Cayman Islands Crisis Center does have a crisis line if you're looking for advice or safe shelter, but the Family Resource Center does also offer crisis intervention supports through our 949-0006 number. You can contact us and we can support you through that as well. And we will be sharing resources on our Facebook page. We started yesterday, and we will continue sharing resources related to services available specifically during this time for anyone who is experiencing domestic violence, because we realize that while we're all being asked to stay home, home may not be everyone's safe place right now.
And what if there are, let's say an adult is not in their household, but they're aware of a child that may be in an abusive household? And, because I know a teacher actually was the one who brought this to my attention very early on. In all of the shutting down, and an educator, should I say. And they said their concern was more so for students who may otherwise use school as an escape, and not necessarily, there's not always cases where children themselves are being abused, but where it's not necessarily the best of environments, so children use it as an escape. And so for persons who may be aware of those circumstances where children are now trapped in environments that are unhealthy for them, and may want to know how to support that child or children, what would be your recommendation for them?
Absolutely. And so we are going to be sharing some information on what you can do as a community member who might know of someone who's experiencing domestic violence or child safeguarding issues. But always, if there is a child safeguarding concern, we do have the multi-agency safeguarding hub in Cayman, which is a combination of the police services as well as Department of Children and Family Services. And the number to contact them is 945-0545. That's 945-0545. So if there are any child safeguarding concerns They can all be directed to them. If you contact us at the Family Resource Center at 949-0006, we can also support you with that.
Okay. And I have a question coming in from Mr. Alric Lindsay, who says, Ruthanna, can you ask your guest if there are any additional resources in the case of children in low-income parent homes where there may not be a lot of resources, maybe no laptop or no food, etc. Charities are trying but are not aware of every situation. Just wondering how missed gaps can be filled.
Absolutely, and I mean, for any social assistance support, the needs assessment unit is working on a lot of those cases right now, and is taking in new clients, is assessing new clients for continued support. So that's the needs assessment unit. Their number is 946-0024. And there's a lot of resources that are being shared right now of, as you mentioned, charities who are trying to support families and children who might not be in households, but the needs assessment unit is the best way to get contact or get access to any sort of social assistance. And they also do food vouchers and things like that beyond just rent payments or things.
Okay, and last but certainly not least, co-parenting. And I did see it on Facebook, and I know someone reached out to me as well. I think they got confirmation on the fact that, because the first thing was, okay, could parents transit during curfew time for like co-parenting needs when like kids are supposed to be swapping households and the like. And so it seems that they've gotten answers to that, right? Because you may have two parents living in two separate households that are both trying to stay on top of their work while sharing a child or children that also needs to be supported in their schoolwork and things of that nature. Because of course this is a new ground again for co-parenting. If parents need assistance, I know that the flyer that you guys put out spoke to individual parenting, but if parents need guidance and assistance in how to co-parent through COVID-19, can they reach out to you for advice and guidance and support with those efforts?
Absolutely. So that will be part of our social media campaign, but the Family Resource Center does run a co-parenting program. We deliver it in a group setting, and that was one of the groups that we were doing before that we have continued over Zoom. But it is also something we deliver on a one-on-one basis or with a set of parents. And we do have strategies for co-parenting, and we are tailoring all of our programs right now, including co-parenting, on how we can support families where they're at right now and what we're going through as a country.
Awesome. So you have something that's available to everybody. And so as we wind down closer to the 6:00 hour, I'd like to give you a last minute or two just to final reminders, phone numbers, emails, all of the essential information to the listening public and those tuned in through social media and other channels.
Absolutely. So I want to start by just telling parents right now to take a deep breath. You're all doing really great at supporting your kids however you can. I think I want to give a huge shout out to all the teachers on behalf of all of the parents. Right now, I've seen a lot of posts like that, which has been absolutely wonderful. Also to build some acknowledgement for what they are doing regularly. And just tell parents to be realistic about what you can do in your household. You don't need to do everything, but hopefully if you can build some sort of structure for your family, but also use this time for some play and different learning. There are lots of opportunities for that. So we are the Family Resource Center. We're part of the Department of Counseling Services. You can access our services. We are taking in new clients during this time. You can contact us by phone at 949-0006. You can contact the Counseling Center at 949-8789. And you can reach the new mental health helpline at 1-800-534-6463. You can also contact us by email at frc@gov.ky. And I just want to push that we will be sharing resources regularly, daily at this point on our Facebook page. And we're also putting out some webinars on different topics right now to support families through what they're going through. And they will all be available on our Facebook page and on our website.
Awesome. And Alric says on Facebook, thanks, Ruthanna. On NAU, some low-income parents have contacted NAU but feel overwhelmed because during this period, they have to go through the same pre-COVID assessment process, which seems like forever and a day to them, seems to add to the mental frustration for some poor people. If they need support just getting through the documentation, is that support the FRC provides, or they would need to seek assistance otherwise?
So we do provide support to our clients who, if you're accessing support for parenting and things like that, we do provide support. We do provide case management services for you, for your family as well. And that might include accessing NAU or other services that are available in the community.
Awesome. Mahir, thank you so very much. I appreciate you. This has been a very active conversation this afternoon. Thank you to all who tuned in on Facebook, on the radio, if you were watching on YouTube, however you're tuning this afternoon. Thank you for joining us. And I want to make sure, because I know one of the things that have been a buzz on social media is home gardening and local agriculture. I think this has put a spotlight on that issue. So I will have the Assistant Director of the Department of Agriculture on the show on Thursday via video conference to talk about the services that they're offering to the community that can assist us in our home gardening efforts. Because even persons like me are trying out my green thumb. So I'm excited to have them on. They'll be with me on Thursday. But Mahir, thank you so very much for tuning in and joining us.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for your very active audience for all the questions as well.
Thank you. And stay safe, and lots of love to you and the team at FRC. And guys, it is 6:00 p.m. on the Star 92.7 clock, which means we are out of here. And I'll be back again tomorrow at 5 o'clock sharp for more Straight Talk on Star 92.7. For those of you the few of you who should remain on the roadways, please drive safely and stay safely in your homes tonight. And I'll be back again tomorrow at 5 o'clock sharp.